Hello, hello, and thanks for checking out episode 127 of the Eyes Free Sports podcast. My name is Greg Lindberg. Here on this episode, we have two guests joining the conversation to talk about a recent blind baseball tournament. And this was an international blind baseball tournament held in London at the end of September here in 2024. In addition, we got into blind baseball in general and kind of what the future of the sport looks like here in the US. So let's go ahead and pick up the bat, hit the field, and get swinging toward episode 127 of the Eyes Free Sports podcast. All right, so here on this episode of Eyes Free Sports, we are chatting about blind baseball in a recent tournament that was held in London, England. And so we have two members of the U.S. team that competed in that tournament joining us here on this episode. So first, I would like to introduce Kiana Glanton. Kiana, welcome to the podcast.
Hi, good to talk with you.
Absolutely. Appreciate you taking the time here. And I should mention you are the co-captain of the U.S. blind baseball team. We also have Ed Plumacher, a previous guest here on Eyes Free Sports from episode 104. So if you want to learn more about Ed's background and kind of blind baseball in general, feel free to dig back into the archives for that. But Ed, welcome back to the podcast.
Oh, thanks, Greg. Thanks for having us back. It's great to share our story with your audience. Thank you.
Absolutely. Yep. And Ed, I believe you're still the president of the USBBA, the U.S. Blind Baseball Association, right?
Yes, I am. They haven't mutiny on me yet.
You're lucky. You're lucky. Cool. All right. So before we kind of dive into this tournament that we're going to be discussing and in blind baseball in general, just wanted to have both of you guys kind of introduce yourselves as far as your backgrounds, your visual impairment, etc. And Kiana, we can start with you.
Sure. I'm Kiana Glanton. I have sarcoidosis, which led to uveitis and extreme low vision. I go by blind, and I am the captain of our local team, the Lightning. And I recently won Miss Blind Diva 2023. Actually, my reign just ended this past weekend. So I do a lot of community work around empowerment with the platform of adaptive athletics.
Awesome. Very cool. And Ed, how about you?
Yeah, so I got to mention the last time I have retinitis pigmentosa, which meant that I lost I was fortunate with my RP that I lost my vision later in life. So, my early years upbringing, we knew I had some issues with darkness and dim light, but I led a pretty normal childhood, adolescence. Played a lot of baseball growing up, which is one of the reasons that led me into what I do today. Having found an adaptive sport that I could once again play something that I dearly love to do. So, but it's been a journey. I mean, losing vision later in life, you have to reinvent yourself. So I went to receive my training at the Lighthouse Guild back in 2011, 2012, and 2016 they hired me as their adaptive technology specialist. So that's pretty much what I've been doing for my almost 8 years with them, and the 3 years I spent with another agency before that. So, vocational rehab became the area that I found fulfillment in and full employment. And, helping others has helped me stay grounded with dealing with my vision loss as well. So,
excellent. Very cool. Appreciate that. So in terms of blind baseball, so for those who might not be as familiar, so blind baseball, definitely different than beat baseball, which is maybe a little more commonly known. But blind baseball has been around here in the U.S. for about a decade now. And I was curious if you both just want to kind of talk about your journeys into blind baseball, how you kind of discovered it, and just kind of your careers in blind baseball up to this point. And Kiana, we can go back to you.
Sure. Mine is a bit shorter, but pretty interesting. I also lost my vision later in life. I had issues, I would say around age 16, and became a high partial with a slow decrease of vision over the course of the next 15 or so years. But it led to me needing more services from Lighthouse Guilds, where Ed, my teammate, first became my teacher. And so I had to learn how to use Word and Excel. And my God, it was boring but very necessary. And he could see that like there was a hunger in me, a need for community. And so in between breaks, Ed knew I was coming straight from the gym while we were in class. So we would talk, fitness, and I was really competitive and working out 5 days a week, 4 hours a day, like an insane person. And he invited me to come out to try baseball. And at this time, I was still struggling with my identity as a visually impaired person or VIP. Sometimes I use those terms interchangeably. And I didn't want to be with the blind kids. I didn't want to be seen with a cane. I definitely didn't want to hang out with a bunch of blind people, but I really needed community. And I had a friend outside of Lighthouse who was encouraging me. He's a really phenomenal athlete. And he said, it's time. It's time for you to find something. You have to find your crew and your people. So I took Ed up, trusting him completely on his offer. And I went out there for my first practice, nervous, knowing I was really fit and I would do well eventually, but still kind of uncomfortable to be around more than one blind person at a time. And I always tell the story of my first experience on the field. We had an exercise where we had to run from home plate to first base, blindfolded, only using the sound to orient us. And I ran like Frankenstein. I ran with my hands up, scared, horrified, in fact, that I was going to run into something. I thought I was going to run into like a pole, a tree. None of that is on the field, but like the human fear of being completely blind and being asked to run full speed, and not because you're being chased or something, but because you want to, was just horrifying. So I ran every 3 steps, hands out, really nervous. Finally, I made it to the end or a few steps before the base, took the blindfold off and was like, I couldn't do it. So I got to the base and they let the next person go. And it was another young woman, and she had on hot pink sneakers and an Aaron Judge Yankee jersey, go Yankees. And she did it so much better than me. And Ed will tell you, anybody will tell you, it doesn't matter what it is. I am wildly competitive. So my face full of anger, watch this young lady run better than me. And I said, oh my God, I've got to beat her. I've got to beat her bad. And she was the sweetest thing. She is actually my one of my best friends on the team. Hey, Amanda, if you're listening, she made me better immediately. So it was my turn shortly thereafter. And I ran like I was running, for life. I ran with all my might. And I did it in like under 20 seconds, which was so good. And the next thing you know, I did it in 15 seconds and 10 seconds. And I was out there blazing. And I remember Ed saying, wow, I'm so proud of you. Well, within 3 practices, I met the liaison to the United States for Blind Baseball. And he put his hands on my shoulders and said, you can be great at this. His name is Don Landolfi. I call him my old man. Best thing that ever happened to me in sports. And I was invited to try out for Team USA that year. And within, I don't know, about 7 weeks, I was on Team USA. I never grew up playing sports at all, other than like hopscotch, skating, regular like around the way stuff. I did play, neighborhood football or stickball or, whatever the kids were playing. I grew up in the 90s and 80s. So that was common for the community to play, but I didn't play organized sports at all. So here I am, 39, reinventing myself, losing my sight, and I'm a blind athlete. So we head over to Beak and we prepare for that. And I become a useful member of the team. I'm not at this point great defensively, but I'm incredibly strong and incredibly fast. And so that becomes the area that I dominate, and I do really, really well. On a team of a lot of strong men and one other woman, we become a team. And I spend, we'll get into Beak Netherlands, but from there, it became my passion. It actually is my purpose. I'm certain of it, to share my story of what it did for me. It redefined who I am. It gave me community. And so it's become my mission since that practice to spread awareness, particularly because there's so many other diseases and conditions that happen to blind and low vision people, particularly with diabetes, obesity, high blood pressure. This is now a lifestyle. This is about fitness and health. And then the things that are equally as important: camaraderie, belonging, purpose, have something to fight for. When you have a banner or colors or a purpose, you get a little passionate, you get connected. And so each player that sets foot on the field for the first time, I tell them what it did for me. I tell them immediately, you're here, you're part of the team. You're not trying out, you're not testing it out, you're in. And don't worry if you make a mistake, guess what? No one can see it. You're just going to get better. And that confidence, it is like so beautiful to see new players find themselves and find that thing that I found that now I fight for every day. So professionally, I work at the Lighthouse Guilds. I'm the development and special projects manager. And so I'm responsible for a lot of the recent effort around adaptive athletics, particularly with our youth, but extending to the greater community. So we invite and include people who are sighted to become our allies, volunteers, and coaches, because sighted people need to leverage their privilege to help wherever they can, because anything that benefits the Blind community ultimately benefits the greater community. So that's what I do, and I love it. I can be a little bit of a tyrant sometimes, but it's because I know how this sport and how adaptive athletics can change lives. It has only done good. In my family, in my community, my family comes out, especially my little one. I have a 9-year-old. I call her Coach Callie. She comes out and picks up balls, and this becomes a family thing. My extended family show up when they can, and they watch, and they know that this visual impairment that they thought might be a liability has now become opportunity for our family to connect, for me to be used for good, for our community, and daily for me to remind myself that I'm a competitor. So I love this. So I'm not a traditional baseball girly in the sense that I keep up with all the teams and the Major League Baseball, but baby, I can tell you anything about blind baseball. I can tell you how quickly you need to get to second base. I can tell you the tips and tricks. I love to hear the sound of the ball hit the bat. It is so satisfying. And I love when I beat the guys on the field and running. I'm making my life's mission to let them know that you are not going to run faster than me. And it's all in fun. The guys and girls on my team have become family. Their personal issues and lives and stories have become things I think about, I pray about. And I try my best to be an asset to this community. So I love it. And there's a lot of crossover between beatball and our Italian version of blind baseball. We have a lot of people that play both because there's something about America's pastime and how clever it has been adapted to include the blind and low vision community. So that's my story pre Beak Netherlands and our recent competition.
Awesome. Hey, I got chills just listen to you talk there, Kiana. I can definitely sense that competitive spirit and drive in your voice and who you are. So really appreciate you sharing that.
Thank you.
So Ed, over to you. So I know you did play beat ball for a bit before blind baseball, right?
Yeah, that's true. So, I am glad that we did episode 104 because it's tough following her after that.
No doubt.
I did play beat ball, and I did go to with the Long Island Bombers. I went to a couple of the beat ball World Series. Was Columbus, Georgia. I think that was 2013, and Rochester, Minnesota in 2014. And don't get me wrong, I loved it. It was great. I still remember the first time, like when Kiana, I was still kind of new to dealing with my vision loss, and I had heard about beat baseball for a couple of years, but I didn't go out to play it because I just had this stigma about putting a blindfold on. I just couldn't bring myself to do it. But finally I went down and I put the blindfold on, and you get up there and you pitcher says, "Let me see you swing." You swing a few times. He gives you instructions on the cadence, and I get up in the batter's box, and he gives me ready, set, pitch, throws the ball, and I cracked that ball over the left fielder's head, and it felt so damn good. Ran down to first base, and I'm glad at that point. I'm glad I did have the blindfold on because it hid the tears that were streaming down my face. It was just an incredible moment. And it was a lot of fun. And again, building that team, meeting people, it was great for me emotionally, physically, psychologically. And it really started to bring me out of that funk that I was in for a couple of years, having lost my vision, stopped working. And I don't even think I had started rehab yet at that point. I was still struggling with the whole process. And adaptive sports really helped me come come into myself and gave me the courage to go out there and do the things I needed to do to eventually, get the skill set I needed to go back to work. I feel blessed that I was able to actually land full time at the Lighthouse Guild, and which allows me to meet people today like Kiana and Amanda, who she mentioned earlier, was also one of my students. I think about 65% of the people on our team are former students of mine. So it's been a great experience, and I truly love it. But as much as I loved playing beat baseball, when I found this game, having played baseball growing up, Little League, high school, and everything, this was more like the game that I grew up playing: running, hitting, throwing, fielding. It had all four of the major skill sets, and I just seemed to take to it really, really well. It's like baseball. It's like the baseball I grew up playing. It's a lot of finesse in this game. You have to think, and there's a lot of factors involved with the we don't just run down the baseline. We actually round first base, have to make it to second base to be safe, and then if you're safe, you stay there. Then now your teammate has to drive you to third, and from third you have to try and make it home. So it's it really becomes a team sport, not an individual event at that point. So it's you don't score a run until you make it to home plate. So it's really good. A lot of communication, just like beat ball. We're in the field. The difference is our ball it's a regulation sized baseball. It has two chimes in it, two bells, and it makes noise off the bat. It makes noise when it hits the ground. But when it stops rolling, it stops making noise. So you really have to develop that skill to track the ball and kind of you really get a feel for its trajectory at that point. And when it stops making noise, you kind of have a good idea of the general area it's in. And you have to communicate with your fellow teammates so that you don't go colliding into each other. But it works out really well. I find this to be a safer game than playing beat ball. We have a lot less injuries of people, hitting that first or third base, what is that, like 2.5, 3 feet off the ground. Many times I plowed through that thing and I was airborne. And you see a lot of separated elbows and shoulders and things like that. So it's this sport is pretty safe. The only injury we've ever had is when we play on fields where the baseline is too close to the dugout fence. You have a tendency if you stray off a little bit, you can bounce off the fence. And I've done that, and a few other of our players have done that too. So, but it is a great game. I love it. It's something that we're working really hard to. The beauty about our sport is that we have been and we were sanctioned by the World Baseball Softball Confederation in 2022. That was the first year of our the Blind Baseball International Cup. It's a biannual event, so this was 2024, which was the next one. We did this one in London, England, at Farnham Park. But this year we were under International Paralympic Committee rules, so it was much stricter than what we were used to in the past. A lot more regulations, and this is our pathway to becoming a Paralympic sport. It's something that I've been dreaming about since I got involved with this back in 2015. Although this year, when we did find out some of the rules, when we were down where I met you down in Florida, there we found out while we were in Florida that two of our best players could not play in the tournament for our USA team because being under International Paralympic Committee rules, you have to be a citizen of the country that you represent in the sporting events. So that kind of hurt us a little bit, but we were lucky. We were able to recruit a young player to help come in and step up a little bit. And I think he played for about 6 or 7 weeks, and he went with us to London, and he received the prospect of the year in the tournament. So out of all the countries that were there and all the players there, he was recognized as the best young prospect playing blind baseball. So that was pretty cool too. So it's it's a very competitive sport, something that we all work hard to do, but the main part is it is a team, it is a family, and it's a lot of fun.
Right. Very cool. So yeah, let's dig a little deeper into this latest tournament. So this was held at the end of September here in 2024, like you said, in London. And so just talk to me about the format of the tournament. I believe there were 8 teams, 8 countries that participated, right?
Right. Originally, there were 9 countries. Tanzania, for some reason, where they were not. They announced the night before the tournament, or two nights before the tournament, that they were not able to travel to London. So I don't know. I'm not sure what the details were. I had heard something about some geopolitical issues or something like that, but they didn't make it. So it went from being a 9 tournament to an 8 country tournament. So it was very competitive this year. We had Cuba come, and they've always been very good at blind baseball. It was something that the Italians had actually introduced this to Cuba 30 years ago, and then they lost contact with Cuba for about 18 years. And when they had a chance to go back and revisit, they found out that the Cubans had continued to play blind baseball the entire time that they were isolated in their country. And they're very, very good. In fact, they ended up winning the gold in the tournament. They did, for the first time. Italy did not win the tournament.
Right. Amazing.
So, and then we had our game. We had Pakistan, we had Great Britain, we had China, we had Hungary, the Netherlands, and the United States. And unfortunately, we lost to Great Britain for our chance to compete for a medal. And then we ended up playing China for a ranking game. So we actually came in 5th out of the 8 teams that were there. So, but the top 3 teams, Italy, Cuba, and Pakistan, were very, very, very competitive. And the Pakistani team is actually. Most of the players were from Great Britain and Italy. So some, the home run king of Italy was he's from Pakistan, so he opted to play for the Pakistan team. So they stepped in for their first time with a new team with very experienced players.
Right. Wow. Interesting. Yeah, now you mentioned as far as the game against the Netherlands, I'm curious kind of what stood out about that particular game.
Sure. I was referring to the Netherlands competition, the inaugural championship that took place in 2022. It was amazing. It was my first time in any kind of athletic competition. So I didn't really know what to expect. But I did get to play, and I was a designated runner for one of our really strong hitters. He was a home run hitter, in fact. So I can't even tell you the kinds of feelings it feels to be in actual competition, especially on an international stage. I remember standing there and just waiting for the sound and my heart racing. It was very dramatic for me. Like if it were a cinematic moment, I just remember standing there, like it's almost like the world stopped, time stopped until it was time for me to run. And then I just remember all the training, all the practices, and everything I was told I couldn't do or I felt like I lost with my vision loss. And it just melted away. And I just had one purpose, which was to get around that base and to get to second base. And there is something that happens to your spirit the moment you make contact, whatever that contact is. You throw the ball in the hoop, or you hit the ball, or you catch the ball, or you make your first run. And it is one of those moments that I will remember forever in my life. And after that, I was starving for baseball. Like it was eat, breathe, and sleep baseball for me. And we got the bronze medal. And I just could not believe, not only is my first competition, but we medaled. I've never felt more patriotic in my life, ever, hearing our national anthem, which was cut off, funny enough, because they couldn't play the whole thing. So we're singing and tears are streaming down our face, and we're standing there and the Rockets will blare, and then it cut. So we laughed and we just hugged each other and stood out on that field as we received our bronze medal. And then the following subsequent 2 years, we spent training and preparing, and Ed and I have put on so many clinics. Anywhere we could put on a clinic, anywhere we could talk about this sport, just spreading the word, because this sport is popular internationally. But there's work to be done with spreading the word within our own country, because when you think of blind baseball in the United States, beat ball is dominant. And we are friendly and, with that community because there's so much overlap. So that has been, a battle for us to share the sport, get people interested, and train people on how to play while we develop ourselves. The hardest part is looking for a proper facility. We've got to play on grass, not turf. We've got to play in a space that's relatively quiet so the ball can be heard. So there are some challenges, but we've had a lot of interest, particularly in Florida, which is great. And that's probably why our clinic was so important this past summer. But leading up to this competition, it was much more intense for us. We took it more seriously, a lot of training, a lot of like sacrifice and fundraising to get everyone connected. And then that moment that the team becomes a team, when we gel, when you learn to trust the person to the left and to the right of you, that we're going to work together. It's not who can get the ball and I score one for Kiana because I got the ball. It's how do we get the ball? How do we position ourselves and cut down time? How do we efficiently operate? And I love Team USA, the team that represented the United States, so much because they sacrifice their bodies. People have scraped up knees and elbows and sore legs and really put their whole body into it. The competition in London was tough. It was really tough. It was devastating to play our best and our best not being good enough. The United States can be a little bit arrogant because we don't lose. We don't take L's. But like I tell everyone, the L we took was for learning and for life and for love of this game. So using all of that experience to better prepare our team next time, thinking about immediately, I went into solution mode. How do we prepare our spring season? How do we get the field that we need? How do we get clinics that develop us? And how do we spread awareness in a way that's more strategic moving forward? What does me as a captain, what do I have to do to improve? I'm strong on the offense. I need to improve defensively. We played in pouring rain and it was the worst conditions you can possibly play in. So that altered the acoustics of how you hear the ball. I was so confused when the ball was going to my left and I heard echo from the right. It was awful. I don't make excuses. These are reasons. But given that, how do we become more competitive has been kind of my mission and forgiving myself for not performing. Like I've never had a loss before, so I didn't really know how to deal with that. So it's really been like forgiving myself and being a little more kinder because I was like ready to punch a wall. And it was, if there was a wall to punch, I would have probably kicked it or something. But the good thing is my heart is in it. My heart was and it is in it. And it just made me know how much I truly love the sport and what's happening to me as a competitor. So we channel all of that into these kinds of opportunities to be on your podcast and talk about this wonderful sport and how it truly changes lives. Right. So bittersweet, more bitter than sweet, but what do we do with that now? What are the next steps? And how do we reach more people so they can have opportunities to get on the field and do their best? So that's kind of where we are.
Gotcha. I like that about the L being for learning, kind of looking at things in a different perspective, more positive light in that case.
Yeah, we have to. There's W's and there's L's. And so it's really about perspective. What I know is now I'm an athlete all the way. I had my first loss and I don't want too many more of those. And so I'm thinking about training individually and group training. And it gives me even more purpose. The connection to baseball is so much deeper for us now. There's something about running home and scoring. I did get to score. I did get to bat. And that was everything. My daughter, my 9-year-old was there and I heard her little voice. And I remember crying at the end when we lost, crying, boo-hooing. And I said, Callie, I'm so mad right now. And she said, Mommy, you're not mad. You're disappointed. She said, but you did so good. And those moments matter in the blind community. When you find your thing, when you realize life is not over because of your visual impairment or the loss of the things you thought you would need to see or to drive or to read text or to identify colors just using your eyes. I was able to identify the human spirit, my connection to my family, a greater good, represent the privilege of representing my country. I've only been a U.S. citizen within the United States, But to go and be looked at as Team USA, such a privilege. I was selected, and that meant something too. And so all of those experiences, I get to keep. I get to hold those and remember and improve if I want to, right? This comes down to choices. And so I love adaptive athletics in any form for that reason.
Right. Definitely a powerful moment with your daughter there. It sounds like that's awesome.
Thank you.
So Ed, back over to you. Any particular games or moments that really stood out to you in this London tournament?
Well, I have to say one of my favorite moments was when Kiana got up to hit and she was safe at second, and then she actually, was driven over to third, and then she came home and scored. So I was at the bottom of the dugout when she came into the dugout, and I just lifted her up in my arms, and she's crying and I was crying because it was just the first time. That was her first true international tournament hit, and to be able to score as well, it was a great feeling for her, and I was just so proud of her. So it was a great moment. So this tournament was I played in the tournament. I was on the team. It was not my intention in July to actually be on the team this year, but when we lost our two top players, it was Coach Don Landolfi came up and said, "You're going to have to play." So I was like, "Great." But I did not play this year like I did 2 years ago. I'm 64 years old this year, and I was 62 at the beat game, and I played every minute of every game shortstop in that tournament. We won the bronze, and when we came back, it took me literally 6 to 7 weeks to recover from that tournament. And I just knew that I could be a great utility player, a good backup. If you need me off the bench to hit, I was there. And I did that. Every time I was called up, I got a hit, and I was actually drove in an RBI in a game against China, which was great. So a great competition. But there comes a point where I know that my role is going to be moving more toward the administrative side and to the development side and awareness and expansion side. So, but it's great to work with young athletes like Kiana, like Amanda, and we have a whole crop of young players coming up that are 30 years old and in their 20s now and stuff. So it's going to be really good to help develop them and just move around the country and hope to start getting some teams planted in different parts of the United States so that in 2026 we'll have a much larger pool of athletes to pull from to put a hopefully a gold medal winning team together at that point. Olympics are in 2028. Unfortunately, adaptive blind baseball is not able to be part of that process. Those decisions have already been made. Our eye right now is on 2032 Brisbane, Australia. So, the more development we can do, the more athletes we start getting to play here in the United States, the bigger this sport will get, and the more competitive we will be on the international stage.
Right. Interesting. Would have been awesome to have, the LA games with blind baseball, but obviously take some time.
We can hope that maybe we can do an exhibition game there. So that would be incredible.
I see.
Yeah. And they did add blind soccer. So we are excited for the blind community across the board to have another sport added that includes our community. So shout out to those guys.
Yep, that'll be super, super exciting to see that introduced.
Also, if I can add something, one of the things that Ed and I are passionate about is our youth. So we host several youth blind baseball clinics because we want to develop the pool earlier so that we have strong athletes coming into adult blind baseball later. So if Ed and I are still playing at the Olympics, that would be awesome. But really, that means we didn't do our job well enough to include new talent, the new strong young people who need something to connect to. So we do want to play because we really love this, but we're also passionate about making sure people have access to this sport because of the Paralympic development that is occurring now. So, it's not just about us. We very much care about the next generation having access and opportunity and awareness that we exist.
Exactly. Yeah. And Ed, anything else you wanted to mention on that?
Yeah, just like to add that we did have the that skills clinic that you actually came over and tried blind baseball, and we were down in Orlando in July at the NFB convention. we hosted, what did we do? 5 days of blind baseball down there, morning sessions and evening sessions under the lights, which was really cool. And what was nice about it too, so we sent 22 people to Florida for that skills clinic, and the Italians sent over 10 of their blind baseball players plus 5 of their coaches, and it's always great when their coaches come over or we go over there and work with their coaches, because it really raises the level of our players' game, but more importantly, it raises the level of our coaches' skill set in game. So we learned so much from them. They invented this game in 1994. It became an organized sport in 1998, and they run about 12 teams in Italy alone. Great Britain is really coming on strong. They have 5 teams there now. You've got a couple of teams in the Netherlands, and they're looking to put their 3rd team together. Germany, France, Cuba is just, I don't know what they have in Cuba, but
something's in the water. Yeah.
Oh my God, something was definitely in the water. We had China was there. They had about 20 blind baseball players they brought over this year, and they were pretty tough. When we had a great game, we actually beat them 7-2, but they were tearing up a few of the teams that they met early on. It's just major great competition this year, and it's good for our players. So we actually brought our alternates that for the team over, even though we knew and they knew they weren't going to play. We brought them over just to have that experience and see the level of play. So it only helps build when they come back, and they help promote and talk about it as well. So it's a great competitive sport. It is the closest thing to our American pastime that I have found. And I've always loved baseball. Hey, I had a career with Major League Baseball, professional baseball for 18 years before I lost my vision. So I'm really passionate about this game.
Absolutely, no doubt. I am curious, did either of you have a chance to interact with some of the players on other teams from other countries and kind of get a sense of their teams and kind of where blind baseball is at in their cultures and their countries?
Oh yeah. I think that was probably the other highlight, was the camaraderie. I mean, so much joy. The Pakistani team was dancing. Like, we heard the floor shaking in our warm-up room. We had a little locker room that was assigned to Team USA, and each country had a room because the weather was poor, and so we had somewhere dry and warm to sit. And we were trying to figure out what is going on over there. They were rocking in there. And there were also representatives from teams that didn't compete. Taiwan was amazing. Japan, they had some representatives that were there. So one of the things that me and the other co-captain, Terrell Dobbins, did is we bought some trinkets, some pins that said US. They had little flags and little Statue of Liberties, and T-shirts. We had some of our US Blind Baseball Association swag, and we went to each captain and said hello and introduced ourselves and let them know they were doing awesome. In addition to this being competition, that we just wanted to connect. We want to build up this sport and this league, and we want to be friends. We want to visit their countries. We want to have scrimmages, and we want to follow each other on social media. So he and I went around each team and said hello. And by the time we got there, they're like, oh, where's the home run hitter? And where's Ed? And they knew the names. They knew things about us. That was beautiful. Culturally, their energy was so authentic. Their accents were wonderful. And this experience of us being visually impaired, at the end of the day, we had to hold shoulder. Everyone had their canes out. Everyone was getting assistance and helping each other out. It's a really beautiful thing to experience. And for my little one, getting to see, she's comfortable around blind and low vision people, but seeing people of other cultures, it was worth her missing 5 days of school for sure. And she got a crash course in international diplomacy and how to, connect and share space with people. I loved Pakistan, and I have Cuban heritage. So seeing Team Cuba, I just was in love with them, and I was rooting for them. It just was so special. I'm so connected to Italy for sure, but to see that level of competition, I just wanted to be in their space. I wanted to know, what are you guys doing? Tell me how you guys are training. It was impressive. Oh, it was great. Hungary was new. And so they were soaking up, just the energy. And my goodness, the team from China, I felt like a celebrity. I took pictures with every single person on that team. They're like, wait, my turn, my turn, my turn, my turn. There was just so much love and support and admiration for the game. And they had awesome uniforms. It just was great. We exchanged uniforms. That was something I had heard about people doing.
Uniforms, hats,
yeah, hats, pins. It was like awesome. I have so many pins on my Team USA hat, and it reminds me of what they were willing to share with us and this wonderful experience. It was a competition, but it was something greater than that. It was so big. There's just not enough words to explain the feelings around connecting with this shared blind experience, but through the lens of other cultures.
Yeah, the closing ceremonies were very cool. How they just let all the teams commingle on the field, and that was phenomenal. That really was.
Yeah, and for the second time, and I'm going to take credit when Ed and I will take credit for the second time. Our Player of the Year, our youth prospect, it was from Team USA. The first year was Krishna, and he was phenomenal. And this year, Kevin made us proud. So we didn't take home a medal, but our talent was acknowledged. Our effort was acknowledged, and everyone cheered for us. It was good. It was great. It was big. It was everything.
Amazing. Yeah, what a neat experience. And like you were saying, Kiana, just kind of how people perceived Americans and maybe how you guys kind of perceived those from other countries and cultures. Just really fascinating to hear.
Yeah. And actually, we had a film crew following us that's filming the experience of blind baseball and our training leading up. And so they were able, I think, to catch a lot of the personal interactions, feelings, and big and small, and that occurred. So we're excited, for that to come out in a couple of years to see from another perspective of what we went through and what we experienced. And that just gives this sport another platform for us to share this experience. So we're excited. We're super excited. Everything is looking up for blind baseball.
Yeah, they basically they filmed our entire journey from the start of our season this year. They were in Orlando with us. Filming us and the Italians and everything. And then when they came to London, I have to say the World Baseball Softball Confederation was very, very cooperative and really gave them carte blanche and let them just have access to the fields and the players and be in our dugout and everything. It was pretty awesome.
Very cool. So Ed, I'm definitely curious kind of the current state of blind baseball here in the U.S., as we're heading toward the end of 2024 already here into 2025. Any plans on the horizon in terms of more outreach and everything?
Oh yeah. We're working on that now. We're in our planning stage. One of our we've already had some preliminary dialogue. We would like to host the 2026 World Baseball Softball Confederation tournament. That's something that we're examining now. We do have a lot of support from Europe for us to try and do that. So it's going to take a little work and a lot of planning. We are expanding on the skills camps that we did last year. We ran them in Pennsylvania. We ran them in New York. We ran them in Florida. We're looking to do something possibly in the States again, and we may do another trip to Europe next year as well, maybe to Italy. Or to one of the European countries where we can get access to the European, the Italian coaches to come over and work with us. We're reaching out. We're reaching out to. We actually have some interest from some of the beat baseball teams. This would be, there's no reason you can't play both sports. They're very similar. There's some people that like the idea of doing both. Some don't want to, but we're open to interact with any team that wants to do that. We have different adaptive blind organizations around the country, but it all boils down to money, Greg. I mean that's our main thing. It costs a lot to do when you're involved in these international competitions. So to make sure that your players can get there. There's a lot of grant writing. There's a lot of running fundraising events, and we like to try and make sure that our coaches and volunteer staff get there without having to reach into their pockets, because they're dedicating their time to make sure that we can get this play this sport and can be competitive. So it costs a lot for us to go somewhere in the country to run a clinic. Yeah, it can cost anywhere from $8,000 to $12,000 to bring the proper people with us. So we have to plan accordingly. So those are the things we're working on.
No doubt, definitely a lot more to it than what meets the eye.
Yeah, and that's what it is too. So in a lot of these international competitions, these teams are basically financed by programs with their governments, and I think from what I have found with the teams that are mostly out there that we've interacted with, is that in the United States, we're one of the few organizations that are independent from government and are out there doing our own fundraising and building.
Wow. Yeah. I think I had heard, as far as Basebal, that the Taiwan team that has come to the U.S., in the past for the World Series has had some.
Oh, and they were tough. They were always tough.
Oh, yeah.
God,
yeah, they won it. I know several times. Yeah.
When they would come, they would either come in first, second, or third, but mostly first.
That's right. Yep. And it's been a while
I love
since
playing them. I love playing them, and I love when I hit against them, and I scored against them too. So I was able to do that. So that's actually one of my highlights of playing in the 2013 World Series was we lost to Taiwan, but I was able to get up there and score when I hit. So
extra rewarding. Yep.
Yeah, it was, because they're defensively, they're tough. I mean, every time you turn around, someone was checking their players, taping up their eyes.
That's right. Yep. A lot of debate about can they see, can they not? Yeah.
Yeah. Well, Kiana had a little bit of that too, didn't you, Kiana?
I did. I was at bat finally, and I prefer offense when I'm given the choice. And so I'm finally at bat, and I'm up there, and I had this official come and tap my goggles, and because we're under Paralympic kind of development, we had very strict rules. Our goggles had to be checked. They had to be labeled as approved. So we couldn't just wear any kind of eye mask and eye covering. Plus, they needed to be protective in addition to covering our eyes. And they came and checked mine and said, I can't see without them. So I assure you that with them, there's no advantage. And so they just checked, and I was cleared, but they were very serious about that. They weren't playing around, and I still hit and scored anyway. I didn't let that shake me. They were just following the rules. We want to make sure that things are fair. We're out there doing our best, but what I love about sports that include a blindfold is that it levels the playing field for everyone that's VI, right? Someone that's a high partial should not have an advantage over someone that's solely blind.
Absolutely. Yep. There are definitely reasons.
Yeah, one of the other cool things too is like the beat baseball stuff here in the States. These games they were live streamed, and they are available on YouTube for people to look at. So if we can, maybe we'll send you some of the links if you want to put them in your show notes for people.
Yeah, absolutely. That would be awesome. Cool. All right. So before we wrap up here, just in terms of blind baseball and the USBBA, Ed, how can people learn more if they're interested in getting involved?
Sure. Well, we have a website that still needs some work on it, but it's there with information. It's we are blindbaseball.org. You can email me at Ed Plumacher, EDPLUMACHER at USBBA.us. Be more than happy to get information for anybody and talk to anybody who's interested in us coming out and working with them. So this is something that it's going to grow. It is growing, and the more people we get in there, we'd like to make 2026 be a USA gold winning year.
That's right. We also have several clinics. We have a big one in Central Park in New York City. So anyone in that area in the summertime, it usually occurs around the last week of August. And we invite sighted people to come out and try. We invite the VI community. People come and just cheer. It's a really good event and opportunity to support, find out information, and try it. In addition to that, we have smaller clinics that will take place. And we're on all social media platforms. We're on pretty much on Facebook and Instagram, on US Blind Baseball Association. And you'll see our profiles and pictures and clips of us, and we try to update it regularly. But certainly when the season starts in 2025, in the spring of 2025, there'll be a lot of traction and information there as well.
Excellent. Cool. And I'll definitely include links to all that and to the live streams as well in the show notes.
Yeah,
Awesome.
and we have to 2025. We got to get you back out there on the field this time for a little more action there, Greg.
Definitely, yeah. I know you're coming back to Florida. I think earlier in the year. So
we're talking about maybe doing something early in the year in 2025. Yeah, so we'll
Awesome.
discuss that with you off podcast.
Yep. Sounds good. All right, again, we've been chatting with Kiana Glanton and Ed Plumacher here on Eyes Free Sports. I just want to thank both of you for your time and insight. Really enjoyed the conversation, and just thanks for everything you're both doing, getting the word out about this amazing sport and just promoting opportunities for the blind and visually impaired.
Great.
Awesome. Thank you.
Yep. Thank you, Greg. Yes.
Excellent. All righty. To hear more episodes of the Eyes Free Sports podcast and to subscribe, search for Eyes Free Sports on your favorite podcast platform or visit eyesfreesports.com. Be sure to follow the Eyes Free Sports podcast at facebook.com/eyesfreesports and on Twitter at Eyes Free Sports.